Welcome into the Cougar Tailgate, where BYU fandom lives. Here's your host, Lauren McClain.
What's up, everybody? It's good to be with you on this fresh fall day. BYU football is warming up right now in Waco, Texas, home of future Big 12 foe, the Baylor Bears. And since Cougar fans will be frequenting that part of the country more often come 2023, we're bringing on a Baylor Bears insider to tell us what to expect on game day and which Waco hotspots you have to hit up. But first, since we're getting our first look into a future in-conference matchup, we're going to preview some of the best game day traditions in the Big 12. And here to help me break it down is my good pal, Jason Shepard. What's up, Shep?
Hi, Lauren. How are you?
I'm doing great.
It is a game
Trying
day.
to stay warm.
Yes.
It is a game day, which on this cold day makes everything a little bit warmer. It's going to be fun. It's still a little bit surreal, Shep, that BYU will be part of the Big 12 because it seemed like a pipe dream for so long. And as you know, those rarely come to fruition. But I'm super excited for BYU and the future athletes coming in to be able to compete on the same level with some of the best programs in the country in football, especially basketball, honestly, and a lot of other sports. So, Jason, how do you think fans of both BYU and Baylor are viewing this game today? Is there more on the line because of BYU's going to be in the Big 12?
Well, I mean, look, there's certainly more interest and I think more excitement because of the news that happened. And how funny is it that Baylor, because obviously these schedules are created years in advance. How funny is it that the year this actually happens, BYU plays a team in the Big 12 and gets to go to Waco and play Baylor? I think that's pretty cool. And look, nobody has championed BYU to the Big 12 and brought it up more, probably to the chagrin of people listening or, watching BYU Sports Nation. I wanted it to happen. I talked about it all the time, and I like to feel like I talked it into existence. I am super excited that this happened. I love the opportunities this presents for BYU, not just from the on-the-field product, because we know BYU is going to fit in great. Not just football, basketball, but all the Olympic sports are going to fit in great. It's a fantastic athletic department, speaking of BYU, so they're going to fit in just fine. But in terms of what this means for BYU in terms of perception, for the last 10 years, people would always talk about BYU and say, yeah, but they're independent. But something like that would usually follow how good BYU is. And now you're not going to be able to have that. So I am so excited about what this means for BYU. It's going to be awesome to be able to play in a P5 conference as a P5 program. In terms of what it means for fans of Baylor, I think it was interesting. I was listening, and I highly recommend anybody that wants to get Big 12 information. One great outlet for that is Sikkim 365, and it's a Baylor-based sports radio show. And they were asked a similar question to this. And they said that it really is this weekend. They're kind of looking at it as a celebration, that this everybody is really, really excited. And our good friend, Lauren, Spencer Linton, who is in Waco, said he went to a barbecue joint and there was a sign outside saying, "Welcome BYU fans to Waco and welcome to the Big 12." How cool is that?
Oh, I love that. I love it. And listen how stupid this is. That just gave me the chills. That's how big of a fan I am of BYU myself. But I'm with you. I think it's more of a celebration. I don't think I think there's a lot on the line because both of these programs are very good this season. And so I think it's just as far as the game itself, there's a lot on the line. But as far as the matchup, I think it's just more, this is going to be really fun for both of the fan bases and getting to know each other just a little bit better. And how fun, Shep, that it's against former BYU offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes. And I think that adds a little bit more intrigue as well. In the past, BYU, you kind of mentioned this, Shep. BYU was always the underdog, always had a chip on their shoulder and really didn't have much to lose. And now they'll be on the same level as everybody else, but they can't play the underdog card anymore, kind of like Boise State does a little bit,
Right.
It'll be interesting to see how recruiting changes and even the attitude of the players as they enter a P5 conference and compete week in and week out at the highest level. And so sometimes I think it takes a few years for teams to adjust when they enter a bigger conference. We saw that with Utes when they went into the Pac-12. We saw it with TCU going into the Big 12 when they joined that. So do you think BYU will basically do the same thing, or do you think they'll step up to the plate from the start?
Look, I mean, just using Utah as the example and the comparison, I think BYU going into the Big 12 is much further ahead than Utah was, over a decade ago going into the Pac-12. Now, I'm not naive enough to think that there's not going to be some sort of transition and, you're going to have to kind of figure things out. But I think we're seeing right now that just look, you're talking about 2 5-1 teams this week. BYU's 5-1, Baylor's 5-1. From a record standpoint, BYU, if they were in the conference right now, is going to be near the top. So, right. Obviously Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, those two teams would be at the top right now. But I think BYU day one immediately goes in and is competitive. And I think that's the other element of what this game today means because, you're going to get to test yourself. We're going to be able to test that theory against another really good team in Baylor.
Right. Someone who's basically kind of on equal playing fields with BYU right now because of their schedule right now and their record. All right, Shep, I want you to put on your fan cap right now. I know that's really difficult for you.
You mean
to become a fan?
I should have had it off right now?
Yeah, do you ever take that thing off?
No, it's glued.
I don't think you do. You do the you down to some of your Utah neighbors. So, all right. So even though BYU will only be in the same conference for 2 years with Texas and Oklahoma, they've had some really fun matchups, and TCU for that matter. Some obvious ones that stick out with Oklahoma and Texas with the Taysom takeover. Amazing matchups. And they're kind of just these one-offs, though.
Right.
So it's hard to compare. But there were some really fun times to be a BYU fan. So, Shep, which game in the past against a Big 12 opponent sticks out to you the most as a fan?
Yeah, I don't think that this will surprise anybody. But for me, it's the win in Austin, at the University of Texas. And it was, look, let's be honest. We'll all remember it for the Taysom leap. That game will forever be remembered for him hurdling the defender and going in for the touchdown. There's still shots of that to this day that I'm sure people are using for, their phone wallpaper and everything else. That's the game that stands out to me. And honestly, you could pick that one or the one the year before in Provo where you had the 2-hour lightning and weather delay, and then BYU promptly went out and worked Texas in Provo. So that put even more pressure the next year. Like, okay, now we've got BYU coming into our house next year. And then BYU just destroyed them in that second half. So, and the other reason that's the one that stands out to me the most, beyond everything that happened on the field, in my job as the studio host for BYU football, I don't normally get to go on the road. I'm back here in the BYU radio studios handling those types of things. And so in 2014, when that game was played in Austin, now I wasn't here at BYU radio at the time. I was at KSL at the time, still doing the same job in terms of pregame host. But we had at the time a sports show on Saturdays, and one of the things we did was we took an RV trip to basically BYU's biggest road game, and we did live reports the week leading up to it on our journey, and then we went to the game, did post-game and all that kind of stuff. That was the year that we went to the Texas game for that RV trip. So I happened to be at the game, and I got to witness that in person. So beyond everything that happened on the field, the fact that I was actually in the press box, in the broadcast booth, while that game was going on, that's the other reason that it holds such a strong place in my heart.
I love that, and I'm sure some of you Texas BYU fans were there for that live as well. Okay, so now we're going to look at some of the different teams in Big 12 country, Shep, including some of their unique game day traditions. Kansas State does the Wabash Cannonball, and this is so interesting. Okay, the backstory to this, I don't know if you've seen that, Shep. They basically sing the whole student section, actually all the fans. They go back and forth while the cannonball plays. It's kind of crazy looking. You need to go look it up if you haven't seen it.
I have not seen it. I will have to go look it up.
Yeah, go look it up. It's a little trippy. Apparently there's a fire at Kansas State, and it was the only piece of music that survived. And that's why they started playing that at all the sports functions. So they do it the pregame, the band plays it, and then the student section and all the fans do the back and forth. One of my best friends, Casey, went there, and she said, one does not go to K-State and not do the Wabash. So it's ingrained. So
it's an up-tempo song then, right?
Yes.
So
yes,
what would have happened if the only sheet music that survived had been like some sort of ballad or, a concerto. I mean,
My heart will go on.
I mean,
I don't know. I don't know what they would have done.
They'd have been in trouble then.
Yeah, they would have had to speed it up or something. All right, in Texas, they get their picture taken with Bevo the Longhorn, which is an actual Bevo.
Oh yes,
thank you. It's an actual Longhorn.
Yes,
I've
seen it.
That
yes,
when you were able to go.
Yes, and it's got, massive horns, and it is. You talk about intimidating. It is super intimidating, especially when that thing starts to run. It is massive. It is massive.
You feel like you're at a rodeo, probably.
Very much so.
With people trying to wrangle that thing. Yeah, they're scary looking. I think it's really cool. But obviously it has to be tamed if they let people come down and take pictures with it. All right, let's head on over to Kansas. The fans do Wave the Wheat. Why do I love that? Wave the Wheat after scoring a touchdown. And it actually looks really cool when everyone's doing it. They basically just kind of wave their hands in the air.
But do they wave them like they just don't care is my question.
They might. Probably depending on the game.
As somebody who has spent a lot of time in the state of Kansas, being originally from Missouri, I've driven through Kansas. If you wonder, is wheat? No, there's wheat everywhere. That is what Kansas is. It is wheat fields. Trust me, I've spent hours and hours and hours in the state of Kansas.
Well, maybe Kansas fans actually get a piece of wheat and wave it around. That's what they should do next year, to take things to the next level. Actually, everyone brings in some wheat and you wave it around. All right, let's go back over to Texas, to TCU. The frog horn after every point is the most annoying thing you will ever hear. It is so loud. Have you heard it?
I have not heard it.
Okay, again, one of those things you need to look up. It's this big old machine shaped like a frog, and it just is super, super loud. Pretty cool. And then last but not least, Baylor. They do the Baylor line. Have you heard of that, Shep?
I've heard of it, yes.
Okay, well, its new students form a human tunnel as the team runs out. I'm not quite sure how that works. I didn't look that up. I need someone. I need Spencer to return the report.
Maybe Spencer could run through the Baylor line. Maybe he could be part of the Baylor line. Maybe he could say he's like a new student.
Yeah.
And then
people that are almost 40 go to school for the first time, right?
He looks younger.
He does. He does have a youthfulness about him. No, I need him to report on that because it actually sounds really, really cool. And it's only the freshmen or the transfers or whatever. They could come out on the field, form a human tunnel for the football players to run out. So there you go. Those are some of my favorite traditions from the Big 12. All right, Shep, you have been incredible. Thank you so much for coming on with me today. And up next, Baylor Bears Insider joins me to talk about some of his favorite tradition and what it's like being a member of the Big 12 as a fan. This is Cougar Tailgate. Welcome back to Cougar Tailgate. I'm Lauren McClain. BYU is set to begin the first conference preview matchup against the Baylor Bears since announcing its addition to the Big 12. So to get to know more about the boys in green and gold and their fan base, joining me now is Dakota Farquhar-Cadell, Associate Director of Student Activities, and Robert Reed, Director of the Baylor Chamber of Commerce. Dakota, thank you so much for coming on with me.
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. And we're excited to get to know you all more and just welcome you to the Big 12 family.
Hey, we're excited about it, and that's quite the title, my friend. So you got your bachelor's degree at Baylor about a decade ago.
Yeah.
You're now in your fourth year working there. So for you, what is obviously there was something that drove you back to Baylor. What's the best part about being a part of the Baylor University?
Oh gosh, that's a good question, Lauren. I was in Virginia before I came back between undergrad and here, and Baylor has got to be something special if it can take you from the Blue Ridge Mountains. Virginia is just, I think, one of the most beautiful parts of the country. I admittedly haven't been to Utah yet, so maybe when I come visit you all next, my mind will be changed. But for now, Virginia is one of the beautiful parts of the country, and so Baylor called us back because there's something special about this family here. I think you'll be able to just feel it when you come and visit us in Waco sometime. We really love each other well, love our community well, and we love our sports. We love our school. We love our Bears. We just love it all. And people who kind of come through this Baylor pipeline just bleed green and gold. Something about it, just you can't let it go.
One of our associates and a broadcaster, Spencer Linton, is in Waco right now, and he tweeted out some signs in one of the, I think it was a barbecue place, and it just said the Baylor welcomes BYU to the Big 12.
Yeah.
Just super, super friendly.
Yeah.
Is that just how it is? Is that kind of just Southern hospitality, or what is that?
It is, I guess so. People, when you're in it, you don't think anything of it, right? But when folks from the outside come in, they're so surprised. I saw my first BYU fan a couple days ago in our student center, and I just gasped. I was like, "Hey, welcome!" Because I haven't seen the BYU blue up close in Waco ever. And so all of us, when we see you start coming down, here on game day, when we see you descending on Waco, we're just kind of excited. When it comes down to gameplay, we're ready to beat the tar out of you. But at the same time, we just want to welcome you into the family. It's just fun to have someone, it's a new face, and just get to kind of start up this friendship, this friendly, this, we'll call you Frienemies. How's that? We want to be buddies, but we also want to beat you. So we're all in.
Hey, that's the attitude you have to have, and that's what makes it fun. You obviously have a love for the students and student life on campus because of your job. What would you say the student section at Baylor prides themselves on?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think the Baylor line, again, when you're here on game day, you get to see it in person. I'll give you a kind of a snippet. The Baylor line is our all freshman student organization, and they line up, a couple hours before the game outside of the stadium to get kind of the front of the line. We queue them up, and there's thousands of them, and they all wear these gold jerseys that they get in kind of a ceremonial way when they become part of the Baylor family. And each one of their gold jerseys has their graduation year on the back and then a personalized nickname. And so they don these gold jerseys. And when you're here, on game day, like today, if you look out around McClain Stadium, any gold jersey you see, they're a freshman, which is kind of a fun marker of who's who. And they take so much pride in that. And so they line up, hours before a game. We don't open the gates until 2 hours before that, but they're up there earlier before that. They queue into this Baylor line queuing section, and they kind of hang out in this queuing area outside kind of the line tunnel for a couple hours before kickoff. And they all sit down and kind of camp out there. I kind of liken it to, I don't know if you've ever been to Times Square on New Year's Eve, but you get there super early, and then you don't even really know everyone around you, but you get to be best friends by the end of it. So they all get there super early, and they're all hyped up. They usually take sometimes they bring cards, they bring games, they hang out. And then a couple, about 20 minutes before kickoff, we get them all to stand up and get ready, and we bring them down this tunnel that has this gold stripe that goes all the way down the tunnel onto the field. And a couple, the week before school start, or the week of school starts, they all get invited to come to the stadium, and they take a class picture, and they get to sign the line, which is what we call this gold stripe that goes down the tunnel. And they all take a Sharpie and they sign. They literally say they leave their mark, their physical mark on the stadium by signing this gold stripe with their name. So they walk down this tunnel with their gold stripe on it. They get to the front, and there's this video that plays, that goes, "A tradition like no other. Here comes the Baylor line." And it's like, if you're a Baylor fan, when you hear that line and hear the music, your heart just starts to pound a little bit, because you just know the line's about to take the field. And then that's the cue for these, thousands of freshmen to just storm the field. In front of a packed out McClain Stadium on the Brazos River. If it's a nice day like today, we have beautiful weather. It's sunny, 70 degrees. It's supposed to be awesome. We're running across the field, and everyone is just cheering them on. It's the highlight. You'd like to get to the games early, at least 10 minutes early to see the Baylor line run, and then they get to the other side of the stadium, other side of the field, and they make a human tunnel for the football team. And the football team runs out, everyone's screaming, high-fiving them. And then McClain Stadium was actually built with the Baylor line in mind, because there's like an underground, under the stands tunnel that routes them up into the student section. So they go into the tunnel where the football team runs out, and they have these custom-made Baylor line tunnels that kind of pipes them back up into the stands, and they fill in the first 13 rows right behind the opponent's bench. So sorry to your Cougars ahead of time, but right behind them is 13 rows of the whole stretch of the field from goal line to goal line, 13 rows long of just the most amped up freshmen you'll ever meet. And so we like to say, we pray over our opponents. We like to say P-R-A-Y and P-R-E-Y, in both senses of the word. And our freshmen just cheer from there, right? And they welcome to McClain Stadium up close and personal. And then right behind there is all of our upper class students. And so we have just a robust, exciting student section that is just off the charts. They love dancing, they love cheering, they love screaming, and we pride ourselves in, it really lasts to the end. No matter the score, we are in this game till the end, win or lose. It's about the experience. It's about our student athletes. It's about our family. And no matter what, you leave McClain happy and fulfilled with just a really good game day experience.
Oh my goodness. I cannot wait to see that. To me, that is what college football is all about, just college athletics. That sounds so much fun. Honestly, when I was doing research on the Baylor line, when I saw human tunnel, I'm like, how on earth do they form a human tunnel? But now hearing you explain it, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. And it's the kind of moments that, I knew I wanted to come to Baylor. I mean, I have a lot of family that went to Baylor, lots and lots and lots of family. My parents met at Baylor, my grandparents, my great-grandparents. I met my wife at Baylor. So I kind of knew Baylor was going to probably be my path, but I didn't claim it for myself till I was a kid. And I watched, since a kid growing up, watching the Baylor line take the field, even as like in elementary school, knowing one day I want to wear one of those gold jerseys, and and then getting to do it yourself, and then I bring my own kids to the football game, and they get to watch from the stands, and say like, oh, I'm on the field with the Baylor line, but they get to watch from the stands, like look down at me and see the Baylor line and be like, I want to wear one of those gold jerseys. So it's really a cool, we just celebrated 50 years of the Baylor line last year, and so it's a really kind of awesome intergenerational tradition that just spans the whole family.
I love that. That's so much fun. And that is absolutely something you would watch and say, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's so neat. Hey, so what's a typical game day like in Waco, Texas? What's it like there on Saturdays?
I mean, maybe you feel the same way on campus with you all, but I just feel like something, you wake up and you just know it's game day. Something is in the air. It's crisp. The whole campus is abuzz. We really start off our day. We have two American black bears, Judge Joy and Judge Lady, which are our live mascots and ambassador species for black bears across the country, and they lived on campus their whole life. And we've had bears on campus for over 100 years, and so they are number 53 and 54 of the bears that have lived here on campus with us. And we always start off the morning on campus with a special game day meal for Joy and Lady, and it's usually the opponents themed. And so this morning, Joy and Lady got to eat a big Y logo for blue applesauce, and then also some ground turkey that's in the shape of the Big 12 logo. And we did like a combo. So we ate your logo, but we also welcomed you to the Big 12. Like kind of a both and so they always start off eating a game day breakfast, and then we also host fans that come around and watch Joy and Liddy do a game day pick'em. And so we have like an ESPN style college game day desk with the two helmets on it, and then Joy or Lady always picks which team they think is going to win that day, and they somehow, I don't know why, but they're always committed to Baylor no matter what. So today, they picked Baylor to win. I hate to break it to you. They're almost always right. But they picked Baylor to win today. And so after that, that's kind of in the heart of campus. Folks walk over to the McClain Stadium. We're nestled along the Brazos River. So we have people sailgating, which is pretty awesome. There aren't a lot of arenas in the country that you get to sailgate to. So we have people pulling up in their boats. We have tailgates all over the grassy area around the stadium. We have a really robust student section that's just for student org tailgating. So we have a whole student organization tailgate area. There's DJs, live music. Texas barbecue is some of the best barbecue you can get in the country. So there's lots of barbecue. If it's an early morning kickoff, we have barbecue breakfast tacos. If it's a late time, we have barbecue pulled pork sandwiches. No matter what time of day, good barbecue in Waco, Texas on game day. And then everyone kind of piles into the stadium. And wants to make sure to see the Baylor line kick off, and then at the end, people kind of sailgate into the sunset. It's a whole day affair, and anything and everything could happen on game day. Possibilities are endless.
Oh my goodness, that sounds magical. And at BYU, they used to have live cougars on campus as well, and I think one escaped, and so they just had to, they had to be rid of that tradition. But that honestly sounds like so much fun. As we mentioned before, BYU is becoming a part of the Big 12 in 2023. And Dakota, as a fan, what's your favorite part about being a member of the Big 12?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, I was at Virginia Tech before I came back to Baylor, so I'm familiar with a couple different other conferences and the ACC. And it's always fun to come back to the Big 12 because I think kind of what you said earlier, Lauren, about just feeling like wow, you feel so welcomed. Like, this is kind of cool. I think that's how it feels like when you're in it. You know, we it's like a family. Like, you know, we fight amongst ourselves. You know, we do what needs to be done. We like that. We love a good rivalry. You know, like we love to kick TCU's butt every year. You know, we love to like go to head to head with, you know, whoever. But at the end of the day, no one else can mess with TCU but us. You know, like if you're outside the conference, you know, you're a whole different beast. You don't come messing with us. And so I think that's kind of the mentality we take as an institution. And that's just more than just athletics, like academically, you know, relationally. We just really believe that partnership within our Big 12 conference means a lot. And so I think anywhere from, you know, even that goes all the way down to the fan base. Like when you're here, we're going to host you well. And when we get to come up to you to see you in Utah, we're going to really just love hanging out and getting to see Utah. You know, a bunch of Texans in Utah. Like, I don't know what that's going to look like, but a lot of people are going to be like, what is this place? And so I think we learn together, we cheer on together, we have a bunch of fun together. And that's what the Big 12 is all about.
Well, don't ask the University of Texas. They don't have the best track record here in Provo, but
I hope, we won't go into that. I'm glad. I want to go into that. You know, we were ready to send UT and OU off into the sunset. Let me tell you, we love a good rivalry with OU and UT, but man, this year, you know, we are laser focused on kind of sending them off with some losses, as many losses as we can.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure. All right. This is Dakota Farquhar-Cadell, Associate Director of Student Activities, and Robert Reed, Director of the Baylor Chamber of Commerce. Dakota, thank you so much again for coming on. You've been fantastic. And I have to say it, go Cougs.
Oh, man. Sick and Bears, Lauren. Well, we can't wait to host you in Waco soon, okay?
All right. Thanks so much, Dakota. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
And that does it for us today. Thanks again to Dakota Farquhar-Cadell and Jason Shepard for coming on the show with me. You can join the Cougar Tailgate virtually, of course, every Saturday at noon Mountain Time, or download, rate, and review our podcast on Apple, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, or on BYURadio.org. It's game day, baby. This is Cougar Tailgate.